Good evening. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome Cornel West to Eastern University. Dr. West is the class of 1943 university professor at Princeton, where he teaches in the Department of Religion and also in the Center for African American Studies. He is widely considered to be one of the leading public intellectuals in the United States. Dr. West is the author of many books, including The American Invasion of Philosophy, Democracy Matters, the bestseller Race Matters, the classic Prophecy Deliverance, an Afro-American revolutionary Christianity, and also a two-volume work, Beyond Eurocentrism and Multiculturalism, which was awarded the 1993 American Book Award. Dr. West has also released 2 CDs, Sketches of My Culture and Never Forget. And these CDs are an example of how he tries to take his ideas beyond the walls of academia. He calls himself an organic intellectual and strives to take the life of the mind seriously enough to relate ideas to the everyday lives of ordinary people. Dr. West's work wrestles with the problem of evil in modernity. He urges us to ponder the question, how did I become so well adjusted to injustice? And how can one muster the courage to speak truth, even when that unnerves and unsettles? Running throughout his work is a tragic commitment to hope that's inspired both by blues music and by the love ethic of the Christian faith. His emphasis on the tragic comic keeps alive a sense of possibility, agency, and resistance in the face of discouragement and disillusionment. Dr. West is an eloquent, provocative, and inspiring speaker. We really are honored to have him with us here tonight. Please join with me in welcoming Cornel West.
Thank you so much. What a blessing, what a blessing, what an honor. What a privilege to be here. Palmer Theological Seminary, Eastern University, my very, very dear sister, colleague, comrade, Professor Rosemary Cowan. I respect you deeply and love you dearly. But I want to begin with some reflections, because you all know we're living not just in a pivotal moment. This is an unprecedented juncture. It's monumental, really. And it's not just because of the presidential campaign, though that has much to do with it. But we've reached the end of an era. It's a political ice age where it was fashionable to be indifferent to the suffering of the most vulnerable. The Southern strategy has come to a close. Right-wing hegemony now is hit up against the wall. And the question becomes, where do we go? What is the nature of this transition? I want to just highlight 2 shock moments just to give you an idea of why I serious talk about not just race, but the vicious legacy of white supremacy and the moral, spiritual, and political response to that legacy of white supremacy at its best. Frederick Douglass, Martin King, Fannie Lou Hamer, Emmett Till's mother, Mamie, and so forth. Very important. 9/11, 2001. First time in the history of the nation, all Americans feel unsafe, unprotected, subject to random violence, and hated for who they are. And for many of my fellow citizens, that was a new experience. But to be black in America, 400 years, unsafe, unprotected, subject to random violence, hated for who they are. It's not a new experience at all. Terrorism, killing innocent people, gangsters, thugs, losing sight of the humanity of innocent people, slavery, form of American terrorism for 244 years, Jim Crow, Jane Crow, lynching for 90 years, American terrorism, innocent folk, bodies hanging from trees. And then wrestling with, what do you do in the face of feeling unsafe? What do you do in the face of having to deal with random violence? What do you do in the face of being hated, despised, demeaned, degraded? Let's flip to the last 2 weeks. Greed run amok in high places. Avarice, elite entitlement with no accountability, no transparency, no disclosure whatsoever. You see, linked to a culture of pervasive indifference to poor brothers and sisters of all colors, red, white, brown, yellow, black. Well-to-do have been having a party. And all of a sudden now the lights have gone out. We talk of a crisis. We say, wait a minute. For 40 years, when you look especially in these chocolate cities and these vanilla rural slices of our nation, these disgraceful school systems, these dilapidated housing, this unavailable health care, unavailable child care, recession-like levels of unemployment and underemployment. It was already a crisis before the big crisis hit. It's a question now of acknowledging the link. Now, for those of us who still have the audacity to call ourselves Christians, after all of the social misery and unjustified suffering and unmerited grief in the world, to still say that that cross has a meaning takes tremendous leap of faith, and you don't have to read Kierkegaard to make that leap. Unarmed truth crushed by greed, indifference, contempt, hatred, by the elites of the Roman Empire. I'm talking about a Jew named Jesus. Unarmed truth crushed that Friday. But for those of us who still have the audacity to call ourselves Christians, we say the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. That's why when Pilate raised the question, what is truth? And he's looking at Jesus, he was looking for a proposition. He should have been looking for a person. I am the truth. Concretized, fleshified, breathing, living truth, unarmed truth in the flesh. And then inseparable from an unconditional love. An unconditional love. You see, these are ideals and aspirations that no cracked vessel can begin to fully approximate. W.H. Auden used to put it well, the aspiration is to try to love your crooked neighbor with your crooked heart. It's the best you're going to do. But the unconditional love is inseparable from justice. Our Jewish brothers and sisters, and this is their Yom Kippur today, God bless each and every one of them. They understood Hesed, loving kindness, steadfast commitment to the well-being of the other, so that the connection between love and justice is so tight that justice in part is what love looks like in public. Because when you really love folk, no matter who and what they are, you hate the fact that they're being treated unfairly. You loathe the fact they're being treated unjustly. You got to do something about it. It flows out of you. There's so much care coming out of your heart and mind and soul, you can't stay still.